Before we start, I want to say that only 1% of you are subscribed. Please subscribe because when we reach 1,000 subscribers, I will post a special video for you. The soft blue light of Earth's dawn crept across the polished floors of the United Nations Interstellar Relations Chamber as Dr. Elijah Reed adjusted his tie, readying himself for one of the most significant mornings of his career. Today, he was not just a biologist, but also humanity's cultural ambassador for the first official contact with a Zoltrax emissary. Across the room, doors slid open with a silent grace, and Zara, the Zoltrax diplomat, stepped in. Her presence was imposing, taller than any human, with a smooth, silvery skin that shimmered slightly under the chamber's lights. "Dr. Reed, I presume?" Her voice was clear, devoid of any accent Elijah could place, a testament to the universal translators both were wearing. "That's correct, Ms. Zara. Welcome to Earth." Elijah extended his hand, a gesture he'd rehearsed, wondering if it would translate well across cultures. Zara paused, observing the outstretched hand before extending her own. Their palms met in a firm shake, surprisingly warm against Elijah's skin. "Thank you, Dr. Reed. I am here to understand your species better," she said, withdrawing her hand smoothly. "Where do we begin?" Elijah motioned towards the large window, showcasing the sprawling New York skyline, awakening to the morning sun. "Perhaps a view from here might be a symbolic start. Humanity thrives in its variety, much like our cities." As they walked side by side, Elijah noted Zara's gaze lingering on the streams of vehicles gliding along transparent skyways. "Your species has mastered gravity in ways that are aesthetically pleasing. It's one of our prouder achievements. Each city has its own character, defined by its people and their histories." Elijah's eyes twinkled as he spoke of his home. "Shall we discuss more over breakfast?" It's a human tradition to discuss important matters over a meal. Zara tilted her head slightly. "A meal would be agreeable. I am eager to experience human customs." They moved to a smaller, more intimate meeting room, where a breakfast spread of various Earth delicacies was laid out. Elijah noted Zara's cautious curiosity as she examined items from fresh fruits to pastries. "Food is more than sustenance for us. It's a form of expression and connection," Elijah explained, offering her a plate. "Interesting. Zoltrax sustenance is quite utilitarian. I am curious about these expressions." Zara picked up a croissant, examining its flaky layers before taking a tentative bite. As she chewed thoughtfully, Elijah continued, "Humans often bond over meals. It's a time for sharing stories, discussing ideas, or simply enjoying each other's company." Zara's eyes seemed to spark with a deeper understanding. "And is it common to form bonds with strangers quickly over these meals?" "It can be. Meals break down barriers," Elijah smiled. "Speaking of which, I'm not just here as a guide. I hope to learn from you as well. Your arrival has been anticipated with much interest." Zara nodded, placing the croissant down. "I am here to offer an exchange of knowledge. My people are skilled in many sciences and arts that may be of interest to you." "That's very much the hope," Elijah agreed. "This exchange could pave the way for future cooperation between our species." The breakfast continued with more light conversation, with Elijah introducing Zara to various human customs and Zara sharing snippets of her culture's achievements and peculiarities. The meal did not just serve to satiate hunger, but also to weave the initial threads of understanding and respect between two very different beings, setting a hopeful tone for the discussions to come. As the morning sun shifted to a vibrant midday, Elijah and Zara concluded their meal and prepared to explore some of the cultural landmarks of New York. Their first destination was the Metropolitan Museum of Art, a place Elijah believed encapsulated the breadth of human creative expression. Walking up the museum's grand steps, Elijah noticed Zara's attention was frequently caught by the casual interactions of people around him, couples holding hands, parents guiding their children, friends laughing together. "Such displays of emotion are open here," Zara remarked, observing a young couple sharing an ice cream. "Yes, emotions play a big part in our daily lives," Elijah explained. "Art, like those we are about to see, often captures these feelings and the human condition." Inside the museum, they wandered through galleries filled with sculptures, paintings, and artifacts from various epochs and regions. Elijah pointed out a few significant pieces, explaining their historical and emotional context. Zara listened intently, her gaze lingering on each piece longer than Elijah expected. As they stood before a particularly striking modern art piece, Zara turned to Elijah with an expression of mixed curiosity and confusion. "Dr. Reed, this art speaks of passion and pain, joy and despair. Is it not difficult to embrace such extremities? It can be, Elijah admitted, but it's also a profound part of what makes us human. Our ability to feel deeply, to express these feelings through art. It's vital. How do the Zoltrax deal with emotions? Zara was silent for a moment before responding. Our society values logic and efficiency. Emotions are seen as disturbances to these values. That must be challenging at times. Elijah sympathized as they moved to the next gallery. It is efficient, Zara conceded, but today I am beginning to see its limits. Their conversation was interrupted by the arrival of another human, Dr. Marcus Ewan, a fellow scientist and a friend of Elijah's, who was eager to meet the Zoltrax emissary. Zara, this is Dr. Marcus Ewan, an expert in anthropology, Elijah introduced. Pleased to meet you. Marcus extended his hand, and Zara shook it, now familiar with the gesture. The pleasure is mine, Dr. Ewan. Elijah has been explaining human emotions in art. Fascinating topics, Zara said, sparking interest in Marcus's eyes. Then you're diving into some of the most complex parts of being human, Marcus chuckled. Art is a window to the soul, as they say. As they continued through the museum, Marcus joined the discussion, adding layers to the conversation about human culture. Zara was particularly intrigued when the topic shifted to human relationships and reproduction as portrayed in art. In many cultures, the creation of life is considered sacred, often intertwined with love and partnership. Marcus pointed out as they observe a painting depicting a romantic scene from a famous myth. Is this concept of love integral to reproduction for humans? Zara asked, a hint of puzzlement in her tone. In many cases, yes, Elijah replied. It's about the emotional bond just as much as the biological act. Love often leads to creating a family, which is seen as a foundation of human society. Interesting, Zara murmured, her eyes reflecting a spark of something akin to wonder. Would it be possible to observe this process? To understand it fully? Elijah exchanged a quick glance with Marcus, sensing the importance of her request. It's possible, but it requires careful consideration and respect for privacy and consent. Of course, Zara nodded. I wish to respect all aspects of your culture during my visit. As they left the museum, the trio continued their dialogue, delving deeper into human sociology and the intricate dance between emotion and logic. Elijah appreciated Zara's genuine interest and wondered how this unusual request might unfold in the days to come. After their visit to the museum, Elijah, Zara, and Marcus found themselves seated in a quiet cafe nestled on the edge of Central Park. The afternoon light streamed through the leaves, casting a warm glow on their table as they sipped coffee and discussed the finer points of human and Zoltraxian culture. I must say your interest in our customs and emotional expressions is quite profound, Marcus noted, looking at Zara with a mix of curiosity and respect. It's not often we see such an earnest desire to understand from a visiting diplomat. Zara nodded, her eyes reflecting a serious yet thoughtful mood. Understanding is the foundation of diplomacy. My mission is to bridge the gap between our species, not just politically, but culturally. Elijah, stirring his coffee, leaned forward. You mentioned earlier an interest in observing human reproductive processes. That's quite a sensitive area. Could you explain a bit more about why this interests you? Zara paused, choosing her words carefully. In Zoltraxian culture, reproduction is a clinical process, devoid of physical contact. It's efficient, but seeing your art and hearing about your customs, I realize there's a dimension of human life we've completely overlooked. Marcus raised his eyebrows, intrigued. So, you're looking to understand the emotional connection associated with human reproduction? Exactly, Zara replied. If I am to truly comprehend human society, I must understand all facets of your life, including those most fundamental to your existence. Elijah exchanged a glance with Marcus, sensing the delicate nature of the request, but also the potential for a groundbreaking cultural exchange. It's a big ask, Zara. Observing such an intimate part of human life isn't straightforward. It requires trust and explicit consent from all involved. I am aware of the sensitivity, Zara acknowledged. I would not ask this if I did not believe it was essential. How can we proceed, considering your customs? Marcus, now more contemplative, chimed in, there might be a way. We have educational and documentary resources that deal with these topics. They're designed to be informative and respect privacy and dignity. Zara considered this. While informative, I assume they do not capture the emotional essence you described. Not entirely, Elijah admitted. They're more clinical, used primarily for educational purposes in schools and medical training. I was hoping for a more holistic understanding, Zara admitted. Perhaps a real-time observation under controlled, respectful conditions? Elijah rubbed his chin, thoughtful. We could consider a simulation or a stage demonstration. It's possible to arrange a scenario that's respectful yet illustrative of what you're looking to understand. Marcus nodded. It's a delicate balance, but with the right planning, we can ensure it's done ethically and responsibly. I would appreciate that, Zara said, her tone earnest. I am here to learn, and I respect your boundaries and the necessary protocols. We'll need to discuss this with our colleagues and ethical boards, Elijah said, already considering the logistics and the individuals who could help facilitate such a request. It's not something we can decide right here. Of course, Zara agreed. I trust your judgment on the best way to proceed. The three spent the rest of the afternoon outlining potential approaches and discussing who in their respective fields could contribute to this unusual yet potentially valuable project. As they parted ways later that evening, the air was filled with a sense of cautious optimism. This meeting could mark the beginning of a new level of interstellar understanding, or it could open a Pandora's box of ethical dilemmas. Either way, Elijah felt the weight of responsibility squarely on his shoulders. In a small, discreet office within the university's research complex, Elijah convened a meeting with a select group of colleagues and ethics board members to discuss Zara's request. Present were Dr. Marcus Ewan, Dr. Sarah Jennings, an expert in medical ethics, and Dr. Tom Harrison, a psychologist specializing in human relationships. Elijah laid out the situation succinctly. We have an unprecedented request from our Zaltraxian guest that, if agreed upon, could significantly advance our understanding between species. However, it straddles complex ethical boundaries. Tom nodded, his expression serious. The emotional and psychological aspects of human reproduction are intimate and private. Any observation would need to handle this with utmost sensitivity. Sarah added, consent will be paramount. Not just legal consent, but informed and ongoing consent throughout any demonstration or observation. Marcus looked from Sarah to Tom. We're considering a controlled, possibly staged scenario that respects all participants' dignity while providing Zara with the insight she seeks into human emotional connections. Elijah, maybe you can outline what this might look like? Elijah took a deep breath before detailing the proposal. We're thinking about a simulated environment, akin to a theatrical performance but grounded in authenticity. Two consenting adults, fully briefed on the purpose and scope, demonstrating affection and the initial stages of intimacy. Sarah raised an eyebrow. This sounds like it could easily become voyeuristic. How do we prevent that? That's a valid concern, Elijah acknowledged. Transparency and the right to withdraw consent at any time must be built into the process. Additionally, the observation would be limited to just Zara and no recordings. Tom considered this. The participants would need to be very carefully selected and supported before, during, and after. Psychological counseling and debriefing are a must. I agree, Marcus said. And perhaps this doesn't need to go as far as actual reproduction. The demonstration could focus on the emotional and affectionate aspects leading up to it, the context Zara is most interested in. Elijah noted the points raised. It sounds like we have a rough framework. The next step is finding the right participants. Any volunteers or suggestions should be thoughtfully considered. The discussion continued, with each expert offering insights into potential pitfalls and solutions. They agreed to each draft parts of the proposal, outlining specific protocols and safeguards. Elijah felt the weight of their task, but also the potential for groundbreaking interspecies understanding. As the meeting drew to a close, Elijah thanked everyone for their thoughtful contributions. I'll compile our thoughts and send out a draft proposal. Let's reconvene in 2 days to finalize and decide if we can indeed proceed ethically. Everyone nodded, the mood sober yet optimistic as they left the room. Elijah remained seated, contemplating the delicate balance they needed to strike. Just then his phone buzzed with a message from Zara, simply reading, "Thank you for considering my request so earnestly." Elijah typed back, "We're doing our best to accommodate your request responsibly. We'll keep you informed." As he sent the message, he felt a mix of anticipation and anxiety about the potential outcomes of this unique intercultural exchange. After several days of meticulous preparation and ethical reviews, Elijah had assembled a small team to facilitate the demonstration requested by Zara. In a private, controlled environment within a secured section of the university's medical center, the stage was set. The participants were a consenting couple, Anna and Chris, who had been thoroughly briefed and had undergone extensive psychological preparation. Elijah and Marcus met with Zara in a quiet room adjacent to the demonstration area to set the final ground rules. Zara, thank you for your patience throughout this process. Elijah began, maintaining a professional yet empathetic tone. We've taken every measure to ensure this demonstration respects human values and provides you with the insight you seek. Zara nodded, her expression serious and respectful. I appreciate the efforts and the sensitivity with which you have approached this matter. Marcus chimed in. Before we begin, it's crucial to remind you that what you'll observe today is a deeply personal aspect of human life. The participants have consented to share this moment, understanding its purpose to foster understanding between our species. I understand, Zara replied, her voice steady. I am here to learn, not to intrude. Elijah led the way to the observation room, a serene space with one-way glass that overlooked a comfortably furnished private room. Anna and Chris were already there, looking relaxed as they sat close together on a small sofa. As we start, Elijah explained, turning to Zara, you'll see Chris and Anna engage in normal human affection. It's important to note that what they share is based on genuine feelings. Zara stood silently, observing as Chris turned to Anna, his movements gentle and deliberate. He whispered something to her, too low for the microphones to catch, but it made her smile. Then, with mutual nods, they began their demonstration. Chris started by gently taking Anna's hand, his fingers softly intertwining with hers. Elijah, standing next to Zara, narrated softly, physical touch, such as holding hands, is a basic yet profound act of intimacy among humans. It signifies trust and comfort. Anna responded by leaning her head on Chris's shoulder, her eyes closing briefly in contentment. Chris then reached up to brush a strand of hair away from her face, his touch careful and tender. This kind of gentle, caring gesture is common among couples, Marcus added quietly from Elijah's side. It's about caring and affection, about protecting and comforting each other. Zara watched intently, her gaze fixed on the couple's interactions. As Chris and Anna's demonstration continued, they shared a slow, deliberate kiss. Elijah continued to explain, kissing is a significant form of intimacy and love. It's both a physical and emotional connection, often seen as a way to express deeper feelings without words. The couple paused their interactions, looking towards the observation glass, giving a small nod to indicate they were comfortable to proceed. They then embraced, their movements slow and synchronized, emphasizing comfort and closeness. Elijah turned to Zara. What you're witnessing is an example of how emotional bonds are expressed physically. Each action has layers of meaning, tied to personal and shared histories. Zara remained silent for a long moment, absorbing the scene before her. Finally, she spoke, her voice reflecting a new depth of understanding. It's profoundly different from Zaltraxian practices. There's a beauty to it, a depth that is compelling. Elijah nodded, pleased with her response and the respectful manner in which she engaged with the demonstration. Humanity finds strength in vulnerability and connection, he explained. What seems fragile is often our greatest strength. As the session came to a close, Chris and Anna dressed and left the room, while Elijah, Marcus, and Zara retreated to debrief. This was an invaluable insight, Zara admitted as they settled into the debriefing room. I see now how integral these connections are, not just for reproduction but for the cohesion of your society. Elijah smiled, satisfied with the outcome. We're glad to provide this understanding. Hopefully, it brings our species closer in some way. Zara's nod was thoughtful, her mind clearly processing the layers of human intimacy she had just witnessed. After the intimate demonstration, Elijah, Marcus, and Zara reconvened in a small conference room to discuss Zara's observations and any further questions she might have. The room was quiet, the atmosphere contemplative, as each person gathered their thoughts. Elijah initiated the conversation. Zara, now that you've witnessed those personal moments between Chris and Anna, what are your initial thoughts? Does this alter your perspective on human relationships? Zara looked between Elijah and Marcus, her expression serious yet touched with a hint of, it is more profound than I anticipated. The emotional bonds. It's not merely a biological act for humans, is it? There's a significant emotional infrastructure that supports it. Absolutely, Marcus replied, leaning forward. For many humans, emotional intimacy is the foundation of a relationship. It strengthens the bond and provides a deeper connection beyond the physical. Elijah nodded in agreement. It's about sharing life, not just creating it. Each gesture, each touch has layers of meaning, built over time through shared experiences and mutual respect. Zara paused, absorbing the information. In Zaltraxian culture, such connections are rare. We are taught to maintain emotional distance to focus on efficiency and duty. What I've seen today challenges some of those core principles. Could understanding human intimacy offer something beneficial to your people? Marcus asked, curious about the potential impact of this cultural exchange. It might, Zara considered, her tone contemplative. Observing human affection has revealed a depth of emotional resilience that could perhaps mitigate some societal challenges we face, such as isolation and a lack of communal support. Elijah was intrigued. It's interesting to hear that. Human societies have their issues, but our emotional connections provide a crucial support network. They help us navigate life's challenges together, rather than in isolation. Yes, I see the strength in that now, Zara admitted. I initially thought such displays were vulnerabilities, but they are, in fact, a form of strength, communal strength. The conversation shifted as Marcus brought up a new angle. Zara, considering your mission here, how do you see these insights influencing your diplomatic approaches? Could this understanding change how you negotiate or form alliances? Zara leaned back, considering the question. Potentially. Understanding these emotional components could enhance our strategies, making them more holistic. If we incorporated emotional intelligence into our diplomatic core, it might lead to more sustainable and empathetic relations. That's a progressive outlook, Elijah commented, pleased with the direction of the discussion. It shows that cross-cultural exchanges like this aren't just academic, they have real potential to affect change. I agree, Zara said. And I must thank you both for facilitating this demonstration and for being so thorough in your explanations. It has been enlightening. We're glad to hear that, Marcus said with a smile. It's been a unique experience for us as well. As the meeting drew to a close, Elijah felt a sense of accomplishment. The demonstration had not only provided Zara with a new understanding, but also opened up possibilities for deeper, more meaningful interstellar relations. Before we conclude, Elijah added, please feel free to reach out if you have more questions or need further clarification on anything we've discussed. Thank you, Dr. Reed, Dr. Ewan. Zara acknowledged their offer. I will certainly take you up on that as I continue to process today's learning. As they left the conference room, Elijah felt hopeful. This exchange could be the beginning of a new chapter in human and Zaltraxian relations, one built on a deeper mutual understanding and respect for each other's cultures. The days following the demonstration were filled with reflection and deeper discussions. Elijah arranged for Zara to attend several lectures at the university, ranging from human psychology to the anthropology of emotions, to further enrich her understanding of the complexities of human relationships. One afternoon, as they walked through the university's botanical garden, a serene spot favored by students and faculty alike for contemplation and conversation, Zara and Elijah discussed the implications of her newfound insights. Zara seemed thoughtful, her gaze lingering on a pair of students laughing together by a small fountain. Dr. Reed, the more I learn about human emotional dynamics, the more I question the structures of Zaltraxian society. We have always prioritized logic, but perhaps we have overlooked something essential. Elijah, holding a notebook filled with points from their recent sessions, nodded. It's a significant shift to consider. Emotions aren't just noise. They inform our decisions, enrich our lives, and in many ways, guide our moral compass. Yes, I see that now, Zara replied. In my culture, such insights are revolutionary. They could be perceived as destabilizing, yet I believe they could foster a deeper communal connection. It's a delicate balance, Elijah agreed, pausing to watch a butterfly flit from one flower to another. But perhaps by introducing these concepts gradually, your people might find a new dimension to societal interaction that enhances rather than disrupts. Zara considered this, her expression pensive. I have been recording my observations and sharing them with my superiors. The reactions have been mixed. Some are intrigued, others are wary of the implications. Elijah smiled sympathetically. Change is often met with resistance, but it can also lead to growth. If there's anything more we can provide to help facilitate this transition for your people, you only need to ask. Thank you, Elijah, Zara said, her tone warm. Actually, there is something. Could we perhaps arrange a panel discussion with experts from different disciplines? I wish to bring back a multidisciplinary perspective. That sounds like an excellent idea, Elijah responded enthusiastically. I'll organize a panel with sociologists, psychologists, and perhaps a few historians. Each can provide insights on how emotions have shaped human history and societal structures. I would appreciate that greatly, Zara said, her eyes lighting up with anticipation. Such a discussion could be a valuable resource. The following week, Elijah arranged the panel discussion in a conference room at the university. Joined by Zara, Dr. Marcus Ewan, Dr. Sarah Jennings, and two new experts, Dr. Linda Cho, a historian, and Dr. Raj Patel, a sociologist, they delve into a comprehensive debate about the role of emotions in shaping societies. Zara listened intently, occasionally asking pointed questions that demonstrated her deep engagement with the topic. Each expert brought a unique perspective, painting a broad picture of human emotional complexity. As the panel wrapped up, Zara thanked each participant personally. "This discussion has been immensely helpful," she told them. "It has given me much to consider and a substantial body of knowledge to take back to my people." Elijah, observing her genuine enthusiasm, felt a surge of professional satisfaction. "We're pleased to have been able to assist in your mission, Zara. Remember, this dialogue doesn't have to end here. We're always open to continuing our exchange." "I will certainly take you up on that," Zara replied, shaking his hand. What started as a diplomatic mission has turned into a profound personal journey. As they left the room together, Elijah sensed that this experience had not only broadened Zara's understanding, but also deepened their mutual respect, setting the stage for a continuing dialogue that could one day bridge two worlds. The final meeting between Elijah and Zara took place in the same United Nations Interstellar Relations Chamber where they had first met. The chamber was quiet, a fitting setting for the conclusion of what had been an insightful and transformative visit. Elijah, feeling a mixture of accomplishment and the bittersweet onset of farewell, initiated the conversation. "Zara, as your visit comes to an end, I'd like to reflect on what we've accomplished and discuss any final thoughts you might have." Zara, standing tall and composed, yet with a newfound softness in her demeanor, looked around the chamber. "Dr. Reed, this journey has been more enlightening than I could have anticipated. Your willingness to open such a personal aspect of human life to me has not only provided insights, but also challenged many of my preconceptions about emotional expressions." Elijah nodded, acknowledging her sentiments. "It's been a profound experience for us as well. Understanding that our emotional expressions have resonated with you gives us hope for deeper, more meaningful interstellar relations." Zara agreed. "Indeed it does. I return to Zoltrax with a new perspective that I hope will influence our future interactions, not only with humans but within our own society. I'm curious," Elijah leaned forward slightly, "how do you anticipate integrating these insights into your societal structures?" Zara took a moment before responding, her gaze thoughtful. "Initially, I plan to advocate for the integration of emotional education. We need to understand and value these aspects as much as we do logic and efficiency. I believe it will enhance our empathy and improve our communal interactions." "That sounds like a significant and positive change," Elijah responded, impressed with her vision. "If there's anything more we can do to support you in these initiatives, please don't hesitate to reach out." "Thank you, Elijah. I will definitely keep that in mind," Zara replied. "Furthermore, I propose that we establish an ongoing cultural exchange program. What we've started here shouldn't end with my departure." Elijah was pleased with the suggestion. A cultural exchange program is an excellent idea. It will not only facilitate continued learning, but also foster a long-term partnership between our people. As they moved towards concluding their meeting, Marcus entered the chamber, having been instrumental in the discussions throughout Zara's visit. "Zara, it's been an honor to work with you. I hope we continue to build on the foundation we've set during your time here." Zara smiled, extending her hand to both Elijah and Marcus. "Thank you both for your openness and dedication to understanding. I leave with not just new knowledge, but also cherished memories of our time together." Elijah and Marcus shook her hand, the gesture now familiar and meaningful. "Safe travels, Zara. Let's aim to visit Zoltrax sometime. We'd love to learn from you as much as you've learned from us." "Consider it an open invitation," Zara replied warmly. As she left the chamber, Elijah and Marcus stood watching, both aware that they had not only broadened their professional horizons but had possibly sparked a small yet potentially revolutionary change in interstellar diplomatic relations. The chamber's doors closed softly behind her, marking an end to her visit but the beginning of a new chapter in human-Zaltraxian relations.